All right, guys, this is the Pre-Cal Final Review 2022-23 school year, Part 2. Part 1 was 1 through 52. We're doing 52 through 60 on this one. I apologize for the technological difficulties. So on number 52, it says given f of x is 3x to the fourth, find f to the negative 1 of x, and then state whether that is a function. So f to the negative 1 means inverse. When I hear inverse, I think opposites. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch x and y. This used to be y, where y used to be, we're going to put x. All right? X used to be here, we're going to put a y. All right, and now we're going to solve for y. So switch x and y, solve for y. So to get y by itself, the first thing we're going to do is divide by 3. So that leaves us with x over 3 equals y to the fourth. And the way you get rid of to the fourth power, you can either take the fourth root or raise it to the 1/4 power. So the answers don't have radicals in them, so I'm going to raise it to the 1/4 power. And on the left, we have plus or minus the fourth root of x over 3. And on the right, a power to a power, you multiply those two numbers. 1/4 of 4 is 1, so you have y to the first, which is y, so y is by itself. So that is the inverse. And so that eliminates A and B. Now it wants to know if the inverse is a function or not a function. We're actually going to graph the original function. Whoopsie. Just a second. We're going to graph the original function on the y equals screen. If I can get it to cooperate here for a minute. And we're going to do something called the horizontal line test on it. So if I graph y equals 3x to the fourth, it's going to look like a parabola, but it's going to be more narrow. I'm going to hit zoom standard. And so it fails the horizontal line test. And so since the original function fails the horizontal line test, the inverse is not a function. So the answer is C. Okay, question 53 says, one of the following functions is neither odd or even, which one? So what you're going to do is look at the degree of each term. If all the degrees are odd, it's odd. If all the degrees are even, it's even. If it's a mixture, it's neither. So in A, we have 5, 3, and 1 is our exponents, so that is an odd function. In B, we have 5 and 1. That is an odd function because they're both odd. In C, we have an even and an odd, so that's your neither. And if we go ahead and look at D, we have to the fourth, and out here on this is really x to the 0 power because x to 0 is 1. So all of those are even, so this is the even function. So it wanted the neither, which is C. 54 is a calculator question. We're just going to use the calculator. 9 plus 10i. Remember the I is second decimal point. 11 minus 15i. Nobody should miss this question. And you get 249 minus 25i. 55 is also an imaginary number question. Complex numbers. So we can put it in the calculator, but remember you can't type it in as a fraction. So what you have to do is you have to say stuff divided by stuff. And then it's probably going to be a nasty decimal, and we're going to hit math, enter, enter. So stuff divided by stuff. That's stuff divided by stuff. And when we do that, we get crazy decimals, so math, enter, enter. And I get, see my denominator is 761, and in the top I got 157 plus 35, not minus. So D is the answer there. Okay, question 56. It's wanting you to find the g of f of 3. This is where you have a function inside of a function. That's called a composition of functions. So you're going to start on the inside, and you're going to go over here and find the f of 3 first. So the f of 3, you're going to use the f equation. So the f equation says the f of stuff is stuff squared minus 7. So stuff squared minus 7. Our stuff is a 3. 3 squared minus 7 is 9 minus 7, that is 2. So now back over here, where f of 3 used to be, we're just going to put the number 2. And now we're finding the g of 2. So we go to the g equation. It says g of stuff is stuff plus 6 divided by stuff. Stuff plus 6 divided by stuff. And we're finding the g of 2. So everywhere there was an x, we're putting a 2. That gives me 8 over 2, which is 4. And the answer is B. All right, question 57, we have a square root divided by a square root. So what we can do is we can combine that into one square root and divide the stuff on the inside. So 140 divided by 7 is 20. X to the 28th divided by x to the 1st is x to the 27th, because base divided by base, you subtract exponents. Next, you want to break up 20. What is the biggest perfect square that goes into 20? And I'll remind you that all the perfect roots charts is on the board in class. 20, the biggest perfect square that goes into it is 4. 4 times 5 gives you 20. That's the perfect square. 5 is not. X to the 27th. Now, we're not taking the square root of the exponent. We're taking half of the exponent. We're dividing by 2 because we're taking the square root. Well, 27 is not divisible by 2. So what's the biggest number below 27 that's divisible by 2? And that is x to the 26th. So I want to rewrite x to the 27th as x to the 26th times x to the 1st. That'll be our perfect square. That's what's left. So I'm left under the radical, the square root. I got 5x. The square root of 4 is going to be 2. And the square root of x to the 26, you're dividing the exponent by 2. You get x to the 13th. And so A is the answer. Now in 58, you'll notice this is all numbers. So you could type in those numbers in the calculator and then type in all the answers and see which one matches. For me, it's faster to just FOIL or distribute twice. So I got a binomial times a binomial, so I'm going to distribute twice. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times radical 3 is 3 radical 3. Negative radical 3 times 2 is negative 2 radical 3. And a negative times a positive is a negative. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 is the square root of 9, which is just 3. Now we're looking for like terms. 6 minus 3. And 3 square roots of 3 minus 2 square roots of 3 is 1 radical 3. And you can put the 1 there if you want. You don't have to. And the answer is C. 59, we're simplifying a cube root. So I want the biggest perfect cube that goes into 128. And if I divide 128 by 2, I get 64, and that is a perfect cube. So I want to rewrite 128 as 64 times 2. 64 is a perfect cube root, 2 is not. Now, a to the 16th, we're not taking the cube root of that, we're dividing by 3. 16 is not divisible by 3. So what's the biggest number below that that is divisible by 3, and that is a to the 15th. So I'm going to rewrite a to the 16th is a to the 15th times a. That's a perfect cube, that is not. B to the 12th is divisible by 3, so it is already a perfect cube root. So underneath the cube root, you're going to be left with 2a. And then the cube root of 64 is 4. The cube root of a to the 15th, you're dividing by 3, you get 5. And the cube root of b to the 12th, you divide by 3, and you get 4. And the answer is A. Last question. It's all numbers. You can type it in the calculator and get a decimal. Type in the answer, see which decimal matches. Or you can only add or subtract like terms. So if you want to break down the square roots, I notice there's a 5 in this one. So I'm going to do 245 divided by 5 and see if that's a perfect square. If I can get the calculator to turn on. 245 divided by 5. We get 49. So I'm going to rewrite that as 49 times 5. 49 is a perfect square, 5 is not. All right, what if I take 45 and divide it by 5? I get 9. That's a perfect square. 5 is not. And we have minus 1 radical 5 down here. So we're gonna combine like terms. Oh, we gotta do the square roots first. So the square root of 49 is 7, square root of 5. Square root of 9 is 3 square roots of 5. And we got the minus 1 square root of 5. So 7 plus 3 is 10, minus 1 is 9, square roots of 5. All right, and that is the complete review for your final. Study these questions. The questions on the test will be the same questions with different numbers, and they will obviously be mixed up. Best wishes.